welcome to the special council meeting. The date is Monday, November the 10th, 2025, and it's 6 p.m. With that, I'll call the meeting to order. Second item is the adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll put it forward, but I have one request as well.
Okay, moved by Councillor Abbott, seconded by Councillor Broughton. Any amendments?
Yeah, I just want to put a request that John Robb joins us at the table as a subject matter expert, not just doing a presentation.
Yeah, that's fine.
John?
Second? Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
There's
Opposed, motion carried.
Jamie is on line, by the way.
Okay, we'll go to public participation. Okay, Ruth, there is no podium, so why don't you join us at the table? There's not a large contingent here this evening, so.
Thanks. Thank you, Council, and thanks to John White as well for a very thorough and great report. This has not come as a surprise to me. We've been in the conversations, presentations from DFO since 2021. I convene quarterly House Sound Ocean Watch Action Committee meetings, and we've had DFO present on this issue at the House Sound Community Forums 3 times. And then it was recent. Anyway, just to say that I have, apart from actually communicating directly with Lions Bay residents about it, I have also raised questions and made comments to DFO around particularly the Lions Bay Spongebob area. With regards to the letter and the recommendation, there's just 2 things. That the reference to marine reserves be replaced with marine refuges. Okay. Because language is really important. So we're not introducing here something that doesn't actually have a definition as marine. It is actually marine refuge. That's what and secondly, just to clarify, I would also recommend avoiding the reference to Lions Bay's residents' rights. Lions Bay residents, apart from the typical process, if you're going to apply for a dock or so on your foreshore, the process to do with that, which would apply to foreshore residents. Lions Bay residents don't have any other rights over any other license holder or any other member of the public. So I would suggest that be the essence of, like, the point being made is that if Lions Bay residents are having to sacrifice the privilege of being able to bottom fish or rather to prawn off of the of Lions Bay, that enforcement be upped so that it's consistent. That's really the point, I think.
That's what I was trying to.
Yeah, because the point that you're making about the W1 zoning is covered in that point 3 anyway, and that is a good question. Like, what is? I think it's valid to ask the question of DFO, what happens to existing mooring buoys? Is there going to be a change to the process if there is a dock application? But many come along, but West Van has the same challenges. The other thing I wanted to say is that there's this wonderful book, West Coast Environmental Law, published a guide to marine conservation law in BC. And it covers every aspect of who has rights, who has legal authority over what, and all the different kinds of conservation applications that there are. There is a section in here, section 7, on at times DFO needs to make agreements with other legal authorities. So in this case, perhaps Lions Bay is a government authority, and there could be an MOU with DFO over the concerns around the foreshore, like more existing mooring buoys or docks, that kind of thing. So it really does require a back and forth with DFO. Mm-hmm. I am, and Adam, we've been following this for a long time, and this has really been a long time coming with DFO, and we would really encourage it to keep moving. I don't think the questions are going to delay the overall process. They're valid questions, but we really do want to see this additional conservation happen. Yeah, may not get another window of opportunity.
So
Okay.
what are you looking for from council?
I think I support the letter and the recommendations in there. It was just the semantics, just those.
So it's refuge instead of reserve
Reserve.
and the other concept of.
Yeah, I would
Right.
actually just suggest that that second paragraph, that first part just be removed and just say, point, just to avoid.
Residence rights.
So can you explain the difference in those two terms once again, just
Marine refuge and.
Yeah,
marine-
reserve.
Well, that is what is being proposed here, is that the RCA and the existing marine refuges
So
be
marine
combined
reserve,
into one big
Yeah,
marine
marine-
refuge.
marine reserve is not been defined, doesn't mean anything. So we should use the term refuge,
wrong
which is
word.
defined.
Yeah.
So it's.
There's no reference to that in the DFO documentation. Marine reserve, it's a marine refuge.
How does this affect Marine Boys, waterfront from Lions Bay and things like that?
Well, that's the point that I think we're raising, is there's a valid question to ask that of DFO. Marine refuges prohibit downrigger fishing by downrigger, and they actually and fishing of any kind, prawning and so on. So I think the question about any new mooring buoys being placed would need to be clarified.
That hasn't been dealt with so far.
Adam might
Okay,
correct
yeah,
me,
so-
but I'm pretty sure, like, we're struggling with the fact that the province still allows anchorages in the marine refuges,
Right,
which is ridiculous, you know?
right. So how do we, it seems like there's some questions outstanding, so how do we get those answers without endorsing this?
Well, I think it's good to put forward the support for the conservation aspect of it. That's really important to say that. And I just say, and we have these questions.
So could I just, sorry, could I
Yeah,
just suggest
that's
something? So we had Adam Taylor on the line as well. And I told him he could have 2 minutes and he could probably answer some of these questions or at least give a high level. And then I think then we can get John to present his speech, and then I think we should start discussing all of this. Ruth can maybe just stay in this.
Yeah, I think we, you know, you're a stickler for governance.
I know that,
so-
that's why I'm saying.
So, we've got to have some sort of,
Yeah.
format to this. So we'll go 2 minutes unless that was a delegation that you're doing, we'll do 10 minutes if it's delegation. I have lots of questions and I guess I'm, you know,
Sure.
this was kind of rushed, so I'm,
So the one,
and Ruth, your comments of you've been dealing with this for a long time. As a council, we haven't, so those are the questions. Whenever we have, and I did ask questions of our staff and they're sort of a little, they have questions as well. So unfortunately, they're not here this evening.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have someone
yeah,
online.
Adam Taylor. Hi, Adam.
Adam, go ahead, you've got 2 minutes.
Thank you. In response to the question about mooring, as of now, none of the conversations that DFO has had with
Sorry,
stakeholders. Can you hear
Adam,
me?
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we can. Sorry to interrupt you. You might want to introduce yourself. I know
Sure.
you are, Ruth does, John does, Michael does, but just for the record.
Okay, my name is Adam Taylor. I'm with the Marine Life Sanctuary Society, the group that former Lions Bay resident Glenn Dennison used to be the president of, and he discovered and documented most of the sponge reefs in Howe Sound. We were instrumental in, ensuring that they got protection. DFO is currently looking at improving some of those protections by combining them with the overlapping rockfish conservation areas. They're not currently talking about any changes to usage of the water other than the fishing, the harvesting side. My understanding is mooring buoys and docks are a provincial and navigable waters federal issue. So there should be no connection with the marine refuge other than in a couple of the areas there is overlapping industrial log storage that is being addressed. But private moorage has not been mentioned. It's worth in your letter asking what the process is or who that is, but my understanding is applications go to the province, they get referred to First Nations, local community, and navigable waters, which is not DFO. It's federal, yes, but it's a slightly different branch. So I don't know if that helps clarify or not.
I think it helps. It definitely raises some more questions, but yeah,
So
it helps.
if you have concerns and
Some
they're
of your
legitimate,
language wasn't quite as firm, and you still have, it sounds like you're not 100% sure on some of these items yourself.
well, correction. DFO is not talking about changing rights to mooring. They are talking about fishing. If you have concerns about any potential changes, that's something you would ask them in a letter. But nowhere in any of the discussions over the last few years has mooring come up other than industrial log storage within rockfish conservation areas or on top of a glass sponge reef over by Gambier. So it's a legitimate concern you have, but I think it's separate from the issue at hand, but it's worth you mentioning in your letter as a clarification.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
My big picture comments are, I may be here talking about conservation, but I entered this journey as someone who used to be a very avid recreational fisher up until my 20s, until there was almost no fish left to catch. Sorry. So now we're out counting them. So for context, my family homesteaded on Bowen Island in 1890. I've got family stories and local stories going back generations. I've seen in my own lifetime, as well as through family experience, what's being lost due to lack of regulations. What DFO is proposing at the moment would create a zone which would allow some of the species to recover, and as they recover and populations increase, they'll spill over into the surrounding areas. So the biggest challenge we faced with the current conservation areas in Howe Sound is there's a few different types. They have different rules. They're not well documented on maps, and either people don't understand them or they pretend not to understand them, which leads to a lot of illegal fishing, which means the populations are not recovering like they should. Rockfish conservation areas prohibit hook and line fishing but allow prawn and crab traps, versus glass sponge closures prohibit prawn and crab traps and bottom contact but allow fishing near the surface. It gets very confusing. DFO's proposal for these combined areas, particularly off of Lions Bay, is to consolidate the two types of closures into a more comprehensive closure so it's easier to understand and enforce. So instead of saying, is that prawn trap inside the closure or outside the closure, or is the float outside the closure but the trap's inside the closure? If the whole area was no fishing, it would be a lot easier to understand and to report infractions and hopefully allow the area to recover. So I don't know if that is succinct enough, but that's where my thoughts are at.
All right, thank you very much.
So can I just make one other point, an admin point? So I'm recording the meeting for, Crystal was going to take minutes from the recording.
Right.
But I am taking notes as well, if there's a backup recorder required.
Yeah.
So I've got some notes as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
And
Sorry,
I have one last question or request. The proposal from DFO was done basically on computer. They haven't field proofed some of the shoreline side of things. So the one thing we have concern with from a conservation standpoint is to allow some additional fishing area. DFO is proposing that the southern portion of the Rockfish Conservation Area be rescinded, so all fishing would be allowed. Unfortunately, that line at the south end bisects Kelvin Grove Public Beach, which creates a difficulty in explaining to the public where you can't fish, and opens up the area for poaching because it's easily accessible. And I'm sure many of you have seen people fishing illegally. If the line was in the middle of the beach, it would just be very difficult to try to enforce and have any meaningful benefit to that particular area, which does have a lot of important species. So what we would hope is if Lions Bay residents were in support of the concept of marine conservation, that at least that southern boundary at the shoreline moves to the village boundary or to the area that is known for cliff jumping and fishing off the rocks. You go down the train tracks. But that's something that locals would have a better understanding of than me. Like, I've been diving there. I was out boating with Glenn for a couple decades, but as locals, you would know better where a logical boundary would be to better understand.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry.
John has that in his report, I'm sure he's
Yeah.
talked to him.
Okay, thank you very much for that. John, did you want to speak?
Yes, I feel a little bit of a fraud as a subject matter expert here with Ruth and Adam. As I was thinking about the rushed briefing notes I provided the other day, I wish there were some things that actually put in a little bit more clearly. First of all, there is a real question over the capacity of DFO to do their enforcement. It's something we've seen as a diving community in Howe Sound and Whitecliff and other places. They're also scarce. And one of the big benefits of combining this into marine refuge with the different types is it makes it simpler, and there's a lot of clarity to it. It's the lack of clarity that allows poaching to happen. And so that to me is a huge benefit of this. Second thing I wish I'd kind of emphasized a little bit more is there's quite a significant worldwide history of marine reserves and refuges being put in place as a large network in New Zealand. And the piece of the puzzle, the spillover, which Adam talked about, and allowing the whole ecosystem recover by protecting areas is real. And there's a very solid foundation of science that comes with that. By protecting areas, you create this healthy ecosystem that then spills over and allows fisheries to recover. The third thing is that I know it seems to be fashionable these days to not believe in climate change or the extent of it, but the reality is, as a scientist, I have no choice to believe in it. Healthy ecosystems are going to protect us better from climate change than those under stress. Their ability to be resilient, to adapt is in place, and those that have stressors in place. Again, marine reserves and refuges provide that. Now to the actual draft letter I wrote, which I think could do some wordsmithing and obviously get the words right. I made 3 points there. One was the point that Adam just made. The south end makes no sense whatsoever. It should be extended to the cliff. The cliff jumping area is an obvious visual cue. There's a reef that goes along underwater there that is a community, and it stretches up to the glass sponge area as well. It provides an extension of that ecosystem. So that's the one point I made. The second was, if we do have people who prawn off here and they're going to lose those rights, it doesn't seem fair to do that and not have DFO making the efforts of enforcement that go there, because allowing commercial or people from other boats to come and then do that, and people within the village not being able to prawn, that's not fair. So we need to make that point to DFO that if they're going to put this in place, you need to have the enforcement that comes with it. And the third piece is the moorings and the docks and the provincial, having the provincial applications for renewing those, creating whatever. There needs to be something asking the DFO what's happening with that. It's not going to make it harder for local people to put new moorings down, to repair moorings, put docks. The very close foreshore is not an issue. So having those barriers there, I think that raising that flag and saying, what are you going to do about this? Is there an agreement with the provincial side? Maybe an MOU is the answer as well, so that residents are not inconvenienced by that. I think also should be a marker in the letter. The reality is DFO are going to go ahead with this with or without our comments. So I think overall as a scientist, this is a good thing. And also commenting that it's a good thing, but here are a couple of 2 or 3 things that we think are valid as comments. We should get those in front of DFO, and we can't do it unless we comment.
Okay, any other comments?
I can say that there is, Marine Stewardship Initiative has, I don't know if you talked to Erica at the forum, but they do have a marine planning circle, which is made up of local government planners and elected officials, and they are putting a letter together as well. Very similar comments.
That was the NPC that you were suggesting.
Yes,
right?
yeah, so we suggested council that John joins those meetings. Because he represents the Climate Action Committee, and then
Yeah.
through that, you can bring recommendations to council. So we agreed to that in the last meeting.
But I think it's important to ask the questions, like what are your concerns and questions? It is complex, this fishery stuff, that's why there's a whole book on it.
It's,
Yeah,
it's Erika or Elika?
sorry, Councillor Abbott. Through the chair.
Sure.
You have a question?
I was just gonna ask you, did you say Erika or Elika? There's two,
Erica,
Erika.
Erica Olson.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin?
Mayor Barry.
Okay, we have another hand up. Okay, Adam?
I just wanted to comment on the enforcement side of things. Yes, they have limited resources, but a simpler protected area would make it easier to understand and report. In the past, Ruth and had supported having some of the locals start or participate in a volunteer reporting system called Reef Watchers. We're in the process of revisiting that to bring yacht clubs in to be able to put boats around the perimeter so people from shore can see where it is and take a photo and understand better on what to report and how to report. So there will be resources to help better report, but we'll have to pressure DFO to have more resources for the response side of things. I just wanted to mention that. And then the letter, there is a letter from Marine Stewardship Initiative that local and regional governments are using as a template. I was at the Bowen Island Council meeting this afternoon. They've passed a motion to send a similar letter supporting the changes. Doesn't mean Lions Bay has to. You're your own area. I'm just saying we're doing our best to try to inform the local and regional nonprofit groups and government, because the fishing lobby is very organized. They have their opinion. We'd like the locals to have opinion and the conservation groups to have their opinion shared as well. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, at this point, we'll go to council. And Councillor Broughton, you had your hand up.
Sure, okay. I'm fully supportive of the conservation side of this, and I asked the question in the council meeting the other night regarding the 1,000 foot foreshore rights, and what does that mean, and what are the implications, and so on. And so what my understanding is that we're not sure exactly what the understanding is. And so I think it's important, and I really appreciate the questions that placed in there. That's terrific. My understanding is that staff had some concerns, and I don't know what those are. And in terms of the interaction between the village and the province and DFO, I just don't know what the concerns are. I certainly agree that this will go forward in some format, and totally support that happening. My concern is that we ensure that we get the targeted questions in that prevent any unintended consequences. That bureaucracies, once they get moving in a certain direction, it seems very, and once something is in place, very difficult to roll it back. So at this point in time, I'm just concerned, have we captured all the questions? And if our certainly, I think we've got a tremendous handle on it at this point. But I'm just when I when I heard that the staff had some questions, I'd be interested to know what those are. And wondering whether, certainly would like to move forward, but we have a meeting on Wednesday, another one on Thursday, that we could set aside a few minutes to push this forward.
Yeah.
And certainly would see doing it and really value doing that ahead of the November the 15th deadline. So, but I don't know what I don't know on this aspect. So that's my comment.
Okay, any other councillors wish to comment? Okay,
yeah.
Councillor Abbott.
I'll comment. We're all learning little bits and pieces of additional information as we have this discussion. I think it's important that we do respond, and I think that's the start of the communication. I don't think we have to answer or ask all the questions. If we miss one or one comes up later, we just need to make sure we're in communication. So we do need to submit something by the deadline. I'm comfortable with a few clarifications we've got tonight, with what John has already prepared, which also followed on from what Adam provided that other municipalities have done. That it really is just opening the door. It's not drawing a line. It's not saying this is our negotiation point. It's opening the door, raising some questions which allows us to get into that conversation. So if we want to have another meeting to look at it again, fine. I would be happy to let John go away and do a little bit of wordsmithing based on what we discussed tonight. Come back to council in some form, and obviously be sent from the office or from staff on behalf of council. Or from mayor, but I think it should be from the entire staff and council.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could do it either way as far as I'm pointing out. I think we're close enough.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor Barry. To echo Councillor Abbott, Mr. Rob needs to go away, do his thing. We're really just a place marking us. When he sends it, copy to us, it goes into correspondence, it comes into our action log, and then staff can enact on that shit. So it's on our radar.
So you think we don't need another meeting?
Councillor Abbott.
We don't need that.
Sorry, Councillor Abbott. Put your hand up, if you want to speak, please, and through the chair. Okay.
Sure.
All right. For my comments are, I'd like to learn a little bit more about this. I think we should send in a letter. I know when I look out at the activities out in the waterfront, this patchwork is difficult for people to figure out where they can drop something, where they can fish, where they can't. So I think there does need to be some clarification on that. I'm a little hesitant just to allow someone to author the letter on behalf of mayor and council. And I spoke with staff. They have questions. There's outstanding things that they would like clarified. I think like Councillor Broughton said, and you just don't know what you don't know. Ruth, you described that you've been working on this, or there's been people working on this. It's just been thrown in front of us just recently here. So I'd like to make sure that we have some of these questions answered. So I think we can achieve that for the deadline. But I wouldn't in favor of, as much as I respect you, John, and we've gone diving together, and I'm very much in favor of protecting our house sound, obviously. But I think we need to make sure we have everyone's input before we send off a letter. And it should come from, since it's being authored by council and mayor, it should come from the council and the mayor's final decision. So I don't think that, I think this has been positive to hear from the guests, and welcome you to come to the next meeting. We, as Councillor Broughton said, we have a meeting on, I believe, Thursday. So there's no reason we can't discuss again Thursday and have some further discussion with our staff as well and input. So that's my feeling, but are you looking for something, Councillor Abbott? Was that what you were looking?
Yeah, I was looking for something a little sooner. Just, can someone remind me, the deadline is Thursday?
Friday.
It's Friday. Okay.
So
And and we have, what did we have on Thursday, strategy session?
It's the,
Oh, no, it's the committee of the whole.
there, it's the budget.
It's the budget.
It's a committee of the whole, so we could put a
Into 10
We can do a
minutes.
special meeting before or
piece in
after.
there.
Yeah, please, special meeting for it.
Yeah, Councilor Broughton.
Yeah, I think the letter basically is great as is. But I'm looking for the opportunity to have staff, if staff has expressed a concern, I think we need to respect that. And see whether there's something else that we need to incorporate into the letter. I mean, I think, number one, we're concerned, we're fully supportive of the conservation, clarifying the outline of the space only makes sense. Ensuring that the fairness of enforcement is fine. The third thing though is what are there implications? Are there things that we could maybe highlight a little bit more strongly in going into this? So, but again, making the Friday deadline, I think is really good.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor Barry. So the logistics of this would be tomorrow's a holiday, Wednesday staff back, Thursday we're here at 6 o'clock for committee of the whole. The only opportunity would be the special meeting at 5 on Thursday. With a draft of your letter to staff. And if you're able to come at 5-ish, I'm just speculating here, then we could deal with it then, and off she goes on Friday. That is the only timetable available.
Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna be discussing this with staff. I'm sure they'll reach out to us. And John, if you've got comments and that you'd like to put forward.
So I think, just listening to this, I feel I can do a second draft of the letter, taking into account some of the pieces and making sure we get the language correct. And it seems to me that staff takes it from there, frankly. And I'm away for a couple of days for work. 5 o'clock Thursday, I can probably make, I'll probably be done after I get there after an event that evening as well for 5:30. So I'm happy to answer any questions that can help us, but to me, most of it's there. The missing piece from what I hear is the staff concerns. Without knowing what those are, and it's difficult to address it.
Okay, Councilor, you had your hand up.
I was gonna make one suggestion, I guess I'll have to, from what I heard from John, I'm gonna tweak it slightly. So John, you could prepare another draft based on what you heard tonight, Adam's input, what Ruth had to say.
Yeah, I'll be
That was-
this evening because I'm off.
You do that this evening. Then we ask staff to bring us a track changes version to John's letter if they want to change anything for discussion on Thursday night, and it goes out the door Friday morning. That's the kind of timing I can see.
I wouldn't say it goes out the door until we have a discussion on it and make sure that we're comfortable with it. So
That's the goal, sorry.
that's the goal. Okay. Councilor McLaughlin.
Well, Adam was
Behind you,
speaking.
Mayor Barry.
Sorry, somebody had their hand up. Adam?
Adam was speaking, but we haven't heard from Jamie yet, in fairness. Should we listen to Jamie first and then? Adam?
Yeah, we should. Actually, we'll listen to Jamie and then we'll go to public questions again. Okay, Jamie, go ahead.
I don't have too much to comment on. I think that we've got a lot of capable people at the table here. I am curious that the enforcement part is key because I have reported many people fishing at the Kelvin Grove Beach in particular. And there's absolutely no recourse. I have a phone number to DFO. It goes nowhere. I am curious about the mooring aspect of it. If it is a conservation area, then I would like part of the letter to sort of question how they're going to look to control and limit the amount of mooring that potentially could be in the conservation area. But other than that, I don't have much more to say. So thank you, Ruth, and thank you, John, very much. And sorry, the gentleman online, I can't recall your name, but appreciate you being here tonight.
Okay,
I have one last suggestion
okay.
for John before Adam speaks. I think on this mooring thing, I think we should also ask the question about grandfathering of the existing moorings. Assuming they're not getting dragged in storms, they're not damaging anything they've done. So that, we should probably ask that question as well. But new moorings is a different question.
Well, that's sort of a double-edged sword. Grandfathering mooring is one thing, but they break off, the ropes break off and then they have to be replaced. So that's, yeah,
We know about
sure.
Yeah,
About every, just for those that aren't aware, about every 3 or 4 years.
yeah,
Yeah,
Or less.
or less.
yeah. Okay, we'll go to
That sounds-
public, we'll go back to the public again. So Ruth, you've got your hand up.
I think Adam had us up before me.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go to Adam, and then we'll go to Ruth. Adam, go ahead.
I was gonna make a suggestion. I can reach out to our DFO contact to see if they can turn around an answer on the mooring question, because nowhere in any of the correspondence has mooring been raised except for the industrial log storage. So DFO may respond, it's not part of the process. Doesn't answer your full question, but it does allow you some clarity on who is responsible for the moorage, which my understanding is province and navigable waters with input from the local government being yourselves and First Nation. But I will try, but given the turnaround and the holiday tomorrow, I may not get a response, but if you're okay, I'll copy John and Neville on an email to DFO staff, middle management, saying there's some questions, may not be related. Can you respond? Is that okay?
No, you'll have to copy the CAO, Adam.
CAO.
That's who handles this, and then
Okay.
council instructs the CAO, so. Yeah, you have to include the CAO, that's a priority, you can include others.
Okay,
You could-
then as long as somebody sends me that email address, I will send a note out to Rona at DFO. I'm not saying they're going to respond right away, but I think the moorage question is not a DFO question. I think it's a provincial and navigable waters question, but it's important that you're asking it. But I think it's a separate process. So I'll just leave it at
Okay.
that.
All right, thanks, Adam. Any others, Ruth?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Adam, myself, and one other were invited to meet with the Minister, Federal Fisheries Minister, Mr. DeBrusen. And we really spoke about enforcement. And so the message went directly to the minister, and I think with the conservation targets that the federal government has, the 30% of our oceans by 2030. And these little refuges, the expand is big for us in Howe Sound. It's really important for us because it will increase our protection in Howe Sound from 3%, 3.2. It might actually double it, which is still not very much. It's still only going to be 5% of all the marine area. But still, I think that there's that message is loud and clear.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you
I'm
for
gonna
that.
get that down to the setup.
Okay, any other public comment? No, with that, a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Vote.
Okay, second?
Yeah.
Okay, moved by Council Abbott, second by Council Broughton, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much to everyone, and especially to Ruth, John, and Adam, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Hey, Council Abbott, can you turn off the recording?
Neville, you're gonna send